what's up, Mark?
Hey, long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while. How you doing, man?
Good. Chilling still.
Good, good. Thanks for joining me today
Of course,
for
dude.
a little gear guidance here. So we'll have you start off here if you want to just do a brief introduction of yourself.
Yeah. Mark, I play in the band Goalkeeper. I'm the guitar player
Nice, nice.
from
So
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Yeah. So for this, one of the first things that I always like to do is after introductions, kind of jump right into it for gear talk. We're gonna
Yeah.
do. I always like to start at the beginning. So for the tale of Mark, where did when you first started playing, where did you kind of start as far as your rig? What if as far as you can remember, what was your first playable rig? So I'm not talking like a little practice amp in your house, but when you first started playing shows, where'd your rig start?
So my first professional, like not like playable
Yeah,
rig.
like even
Uh,
if you're in
hi-
high school playing shows and shit
yeah.
like that.
Well, yeah. So it was in high school. I played one show in high school. So for those who don't know, I got into music like, actually late. Um, because I didn't actually find out what pop punk was until I was in 12th grade, like 11th grade, 12th grade. So, and I'm 28, so I was like 17, 18 years old when I found out that like there's this underground music scene. And then it took me like 3 years before I even found like actual people to start an original band with.
Yeah.
But the few little cover shows and little, dinky practices that we would have when we were trying to start a band, calling ourselves Ocean's Mist and shit like that, was a Fender Strat. It was, I forget what it exactly was called, but it was like that matte finish that came out in like the mid 2000s. It was like this midnight blue, purplish with a black pick guard.
Like a satin finish?
Yeah, it was like a MIM. It's like it was made in Mexico, something. My number one band of all time and guitarist is John Frusciante and the Chili Peppers. So that's like the band that made me want to play guitar. So like, well, obviously before I found them, which was in 8th grade, I had like the little dinkly wing like practice thing. So then I was like, yo, I found this band. Now I want to take guitar seriously. Um, First real guitar I bought was like this Ibanez for like $200, and then I realized it was too heavy, and John Frusciante played Strats, but I couldn't afford the $800 Strat, so I
Yeah.
found this good one for like $399. And then the first amp I was playing out of was this 212 or maybe 112. This 112 solid state Vox Valvetronics that had like all the different types of like,
Yeah.
this is the crunch, this is
Yep.
this is the American metal and shit like that. I had that through like the first 2 years of college. And I would just like have random pedals. Like I was the dude who was like, yo, the metal zone that makes it like real heavy. Like, okay. And then the second guitar I ever bought was an Ibanez Art 100. I put like the JB in there. And then like I was always like tight on money, so as I was like, oh, I want this guitar, I would sell another guitar.
Yeah.
So like I got rid of the Ibanez and the Strat to upgrade to a Telecaster and like the Lake Placid Mexican made blue one that's like still floating around.
Yeah.
And the ESP EC1000. So had those two, and then I upgraded. I didn't really know much about gear, so I just thought bigger was better. So I went from the Valvetronics to that Fender Mustang 4 half stack, which actually, I mean, obviously now I play through a tube amp and stuff, so I clearly hear the difference. But
Yeah.
for back then, that set your goals. Distortion wasn't half bad, man.
No, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I can get that.
I called it like the poor man's Kemper back then because like it kind of had the same type of idea, but then I used to blow other people's like cab. I spent so much money fixing other people's shit because like my head could only be compatible with my cab. So when I would like put it on someone else's cab or they would put their shit on my cab, it was like I was constantly just like replacing shit that blew because I'd be like, oh, it's fine, because I had no idea
For real?
yeah, dude, I had no idea what ohms were. So I was like, I don't know what these numbers are. All I know is my head needs 2 cables, but if yours has one, it must work because I guess
Oh yeah,
they were
that'll.
wired like they're wired in like parallel. I guess the one outlet controlled the 2 speakers on the left hand
Yeah,
side. The
so you
other,
were going mono to stereo or stereo to mono, and it was fucking
yeah,
up your ohms. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
that'll do it.
um, and then when I like got out of that like the one band, I was like doing like the small stuff like touring with. Um, I got onto that like I don't need this giant thing anymore. Everyone's getting like the 212s,
Hmm.
so I got like this like little 212 with V30s. It was a Ibanez, and then I went to the orange CR120.
Dude,
I still,
that orange is one. So I'm not huge solid state, but that orange is impressive for what it
mm,
is. They are,
mm-hmm,
they really are. It's one of those amps that I'll see on stage and I'll be like, that actually sounds really good. Like there's a,
yeah,
if you go online, there's a few videos because it's modeled after the rocker verb.
yep,
So
mm-hmm,
if you watch a side by side, it's for a $2,400 rocker verb versus like a $500 CR120. It's
right.
they're they're fairly close. I mean, it's pretty
Yeah, I
impressive.
mean, it's literally like when I got it, I literally said to myself, "This is the best tone I'm going to get for what I can actually afford." Because I couldn't
Sure.
afford like spending $1,000+ on anything music related was like a dream. Because I was still in college, I was working part-time jobs.
Yeah.
So I had that for a while, and actually I had that through Goalkeeper. And then I had like various guitars. So like I got rid of the EC 1000 because it was like I didn't like the saturated. Like I hated active pickups. I hated
Yeah.
replacing the battery. It didn't sound as nice as so I got rid of that. And then throughout like Goalkeeper, I've had like the Fender Jaguar with the P90s in it. Like and then I've had I had like a white Strat that I'm still pissed I had to get rid of. But when we got done our last EP, I was like hurting for cash, and my buddy picked it up for like $300 from me, and it really was like a beater guitar. So I
Yeah.
was like, this is more valuable than just this sitting here because I
Yeah.
wasn't playing that anymore since I have the Artisan, which I know we'll
Mhm.
get to. But what else have I had? I still actually, believe it or not, I'll actually show this. My wife, this was the first guitar my wife ever bought me. Um, Back when we were just dating, and like my other band was like kind of making moves. And by moves, I mean we were about to sign an awesome, lucrative deal with Standby Records.
Gotcha.
But so this Tele Deluxe,
Oh yeah, nice.
but it's a Squire.
Oh, gotcha.
So, and I put the JB, and I put the
Yeah, I see that.
JB, but I'll try to get close. You can probably see like the glue because the Squires, the wide range, the standard, trembucker doesn't fit like it does in the Fender. So
Yeah.
we've had to like glue like 3 different types of plastic brackets on it.
Jeez.
But believe it or not, I've played that um, a lot, even with Goalkeeper, and even Ryan and Cody will say that's like one of the best sounding guitars I've had. And it's just like this little $300 thing because I
Yeah.
couldn't afford the actual Tele Deluxe. um, but now my current rig is like I'll have that. Um, if we're doing like some basement show in Philly, I'll usually bring out the Squires because it's really light and like you can kind of beat up on it.
Yeah, for
And it
sure.
sounds great. But then I've got the Gibson Studio Tribute, the 2020. That was like my new one I just got.
It's a great one.
It is. It really is. I was like pleasantly, and like I was like, expecting to have to put out like a fat cat in the neck and a JB in the bridge, and I'm still just using the 490 like
Hmm.
TNR, and I'm like, this sounds fine. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
put like
I love the. I'm normally a 498 guy, but the 490 because I have a few Les Paul studios. The 490s are excellent. They're great.
they
They're
are.
great
Yeah,
pickups.
yeah, and it's a perfect backup guitar because like that's weight relieved, as you know.
Yeah.
My Artisan is like like 12 or 13 pounds. So I was like, well, this will be great because when we go back to touring, I could have the Artisan, and then because I'm old and when my back hurts, I can use the Tribute to show and read my
Yeah.
back hurt. Um, but yeah, so that's and then my current amp rig is so when I worked at Guitar Center, like I took advantage of that discount offer that they gave you. So I upgraded to the TH30 for the
Hmm.
head. And then I have an orange 412, like a standard PPC, like, 412 with the V30s.
Mm-hmm.
But my buddy Pat in Philly, before I knew it was him selling it on Facebook or Craigslist, I was just looking around for like the orange 412s because, like, being a three piece, I knew, well, if we have bigger amps, we're kind of letting out like more sound just in
Mm-hmm.
general, because like we have an 810 and a 412 and we have these giant drums. So without having to add a member do the backs, it sounds a little bit more full, especially
Yeah.
since heads have like a lot of headroom too. So we kind of crank them. Um, so he was selling the cab, and I got a brand new 412 in a road case for $800.
No, that's
He
good. Those
took
orange.
advantage of my. He broke his back and he can't play it, and he was desperate for the money. And I didn't realize it was him until I
Yeah.
bought it.
Yeah.
And then, but so I got the deal on that, and then that's like kind of been like the whole elongated discussion. I sold a lot of guitars and now sold a lot of pedals, but the rig I have now has been like the longest standing, and I
Yeah.
haven't changed it like for a year and a half.
That's awesome. That's definitely a progression. Yeah. It's all about, I mean, in the early days, it's all about buying, selling, trading, the whole, you buy two guitars, trade for something better, and then you kind of move forward that way. I mean, that's what I did. I mean, now I'm just hoarding things, but
Well, and your style changes, right? So like
yeah, correct.
when I first learned a guitar and I bought like the little Strat replica thing off of eBay for $80, I had the action like this high off the neck. The teacher was just teaching me classic rock songs, and I got bored and I actually gave up. I was like, this sucks, because I love classic rock, but I don't like playing it.
Yeah.
But then when I found the Chili Peppers, a friend of them, an old friend of mine showed them to me, I immediately dove back into guitar, like I said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what guitar and shit is John Frusciante playing? So, he's playing a Strat, he's playing Telly. He's like, okay, I'm gonna get this. And then as I realized, a lot of the kids in my school and friends were playing, like, because I was in school from 2006 to 2010, so Devil Was Prada, A Day to Remember, 4 Year Strong, like all those bands. As I'm playing, they're like, no, we want to play Escape the Fate, A Day to Remember, Attack type stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, what do they have? Oh, they've got these half stacks, they've got these ESPs, they've got these
Yeah.
Ibanez's. So like, well, the Strats, I didn't know pickups, so I was like, this Strat's not going to do it. I got to get rid of that and get the EC1000 that I see every band playing right now.
Yeah,
so
I mean, once you learn a little bit more about like what's in it, like you go out my Strat. I have my Strat. I put a Hot Rails in it. Like that guitar will, even though it's a Strat, will kick ass if it's through one of the better or one of my amps. So it's a matter of you don't notice that when you start buying younger or earlier into playing music, is like things can be changed, and what seems like one thing may not be, one thing, or, you can completely change it.
And it's so much more too. Like, it's not just the pickups, right? Or like the guitar, but it's the strings, your pick gauge, how your technique, the cables that you use, right? Like your chain that you have set up. Like if you're using a bunch of effects, are you going through the FX loop? Are you like doing it properly so you're not distorting your signal? Of course, the cab and the speakers and stuff, but so many little things that it's like some new guitar players will come up to me and be like, I'm trying to like replicate this sound, but it's not working. I'm like, well, what string gauge are you using? Oh, I'm using like nines, or like or like way too heavy beefy. It sounds muddy. It's like, no shit, dude, because you should be playing like power slinky packs or something like that, or like which is what I play. I've never changed.
It's nice, Ernie, because I use Ernie Ball still, and they just came out with those beef, or the which ones did I switch to? They're 11 to 52s. Those that's like right up my alley. But no, it's definitely it's there. I always refer to it, there's this I forget what it's called, but a slope of ignorance, where like when you first start playing or like anything, you're like, oh, I'm starting to get it. Like and then you get to a point where you're like, oh yeah, I 100% get all of this. And then you realize you don't know fucking anything, and you're like, oh well, I'm just this dumb piece of shit who now is my confidence is so low that I have to start all over. And that's where you really start to understand what you have and what you need, and what makes sense, and what serves a purpose and why it serves a purpose. So yeah, you're 100% right. You can get some cool tones just by changing simple things. So
yeah,
I agree with you.
And that's why I like the TH30 too, because everyone's like, why don't you just get the rock reverb or do this or that? I'm like, dude, I hate knobs. Like, I hate knobs. I hate things in my gear.
Yep.
So, with the gain channel literally being volume, gain, mid, and then the clean channel being bass, treble, clean, like volume, that's perfect. I can dial the tone in way quicker than I could with like, the 3-band equalization or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
So I was like, so you have to just kind of like get what makes sense, like you said, for you, like as your own musician. And then just like, well, we were in the studio with Will. Sorry, I keep burping, just beer.
Seltzers. Gotta drink more seltzer.
When we were in the studio with Will, like one of the things is when we were talking to him, like we were comparing like our time with Rick and our time with like Will, right? And Will was like, yo, we're gonna use like an Aguilar like bass pedal, and yo, I'll actually show this to you too, because I have this, your Mexican fucking banana yellow P bass.
Yeah.
With the Seymour Duncan quarter pounders.
Yep.
Yeah, this is going to be your bass. I was like, well, the last record we tracked, we had the Dark Glass, we had the American P bass. Like, it had to be American, it had to be a Dark Glass, it had to have Mogami platinum cables or shit like that. And he even said, he's like, look, that's great, but I hated that shit, so I just learned how to get the most out of this stuff. Like, I can make the Mexican P bass sound, not obviously like perfectly equal to like an American, but like close to fucking enough,
Yeah, dude.
And so we were like, oh, we really have to start diving into our gear we have and trying to actually know how to like, how do you take just 3 knobs on an overdrive channel and do almost just as much as someone who has like 17 knobs.
Yeah, because even me, like I had a TH30 for a minute, and I ran an EQ pedal in the effects loop. So I'm the opposite. Like I went for, the extra. I set the amp at flat, and then I just screwed with the EQ pedal. But yeah, there's 1,000 ways to do the same thing for gear, and that's what's so fun about it is once you get to a certain point, you're like, oh, I'm starting to understand this. You can like start having a lot more fun with it.
You also have to pay attention to what's good for your band too.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of bands we play with who, like the one, you'll be in a pop punk band, but the one kid showing up with, let's say, the more traditional pop punk setup, right? Like maybe like a Les Paul with an orange stack or something. But then like their other guitar players showing up with a 5150, a Mesa Cat, and then like a Charvel or like, like it's like 2 polar opposite sounds, and you can hear it. You can hear like that kid wants to be in a metalcore band, but these are the only bandmates he can find.
Yeah.
And this kid really wants to. So it's like you have to kind of take that in consideration. Like, I don't like lifting a 412 in a road case out of a van every fucking day on tour, but it literally has changed our sound for the better.
Sure.
And
you don't always have, especially for where we play, you don't always have the luxury of being mic'd. So it's like in a 3-piece, you're definitely going to want to be up front. You're going to want to be present. I mean, and that, for even crosswinds, like, your single sound isn't as important as your overall sound with the band. So when, Jamie and I are playing, it's a matter of not how good do I sound versus how good does he sound. It's where do we mend the best in the middle where our sound together will be the best. So it's, you're 100% right. It's not the individual at that point. It's, the overall band is what people are going to hear, not just you. So that's what makes a big difference.
And your role in the band too. Like if you're more of a lead guitarist, you're probably going to have a rig that kind of cuts a little bit bigger, or like cuts a little bit through more than your rhythm guitarist, who kind of just has to fill in the noise, like fill in the space.
Yeah.
I watch all those Guitar Center rig rundowns, and like my favorite, because it's like my favorite pop punk band, 4 Years Strong. And I've always noticed that Alan tends to play a lot more lead stuff. Then I know they go back and forth a lot, but like when you kind of see it, Alan does play a lot more of it, and he's the one with the giant pedal board, and Dan literally has a tuner, the tube screamer, and then like a noise suppressor, and like that's it. He's more like the riff guy.
Because I remember back when they first were like getting big, we used to actually play shows with 4 Year like locally in Erie, and
Jealous, so jealous.
they were rocking the Emperor 612 cabs, which are ridiculous. And then I think Dan was playing an JCM 800 and a Bogner. And then Alan, I believe, and I think he still plays it, he loves his Soldano, which is
so Soldano, and then
the slow 100. Yeah. But Dan actually just put, because he was doing a video today, he's playing that Bad Cat now, that Bad Cat Lynx X, which is cool because I actually have the Lynx, which is an incredible, they're awesome amps. But
I wanted to look into Bad Cats, but I mean, just the price point.
Yeah. No, they did the Player Series, which is new. Player Series is like they're not hand wired. Like I have an older hand wired one, but the newer Player ones sound incredible, but they're on a printed circuit board, so they're a little bit cheaper. But it's like $1,600, which is, I mean, it's up there. But as far as good amps go, it's fairly priced for, where you can get like a diesel for like $4,000 or like like my Splon was like $1,700 or something like that. But you can get good amp. You don't need to spend a fortune to get good sound. It's just a matter of your preference at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I know, like you were just saying, you just putting out a record here. So yeah, I know you guys were recording with an old acquaintance, Kevin Mahoney from Polar Bear Club, Hit the Lights, Joywave. Did you guys use anything specific that you really liked there, or was there a lot of your gear, a lot of his gear? Because I know he's a Soft Tech guy.
Yeah. So we haven't used a Soft Tech on this record or the last one. He brought it both times, but it just never fit. Because especially with like him live, like people like you hear Skip School Star Fights, you're like, oh, they're kind of like a neon pop punk band, but like they are heavy as shit.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
So like that's why like when he used to play the Artisan before he sold it to me, like he still used like the actual pickups that came with guitar because they played that heavy of a style live. But so he produced it. So the studio was actually Will Pugh from Cartels.
Gotcha. Okay.
Studio. So we used like their gear. So which is actually nice is so we used a lot of our own gear for both records. The TH30 holds fast for a lot of the lead tones and some rhythm stuff. But the rhythm was done on this record was done primarily with a 800, I believe.
You can't lose with an 800.
No, you can't. No, you can't at all. And like, so we had like 3 amps kind of going. So we had the 800 as the primary like rhythm tone, but then we would switch out guitars. And then we had this custom amp that Will had. That was
Will plays Matchless, didn't he? If I remember correctly, when I saw Cartel, they were playing Matchless, which is like one of the best amps you can possibly buy on.
We didn't have that, but he had this he had the JCM. And then he had this like custom amp that was made for him that was meant for like clean. And when I say it was the greatest clean tone in the world, like I would need to tour with the 800 and that amp to get the perfect clean and overdrive and just A/B them, like have like a switch box or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then the TH30 was a lot of the just lead tones and some like if we had to do like a third rhythm guitar, kind of put that in there. The guitars we used, so we used the bass that I just showed you for all the bass tones, which was sick. And then we used Will's 73 Tele Deluxe that you see him play with Cartel. So, just because Cartel, is a massive influence to our band. So the fact that we got to play like his guitar, like I'm holding the shit that you see him in all the music videos and on tour with. And then like Cody, even for drums, I know this is for guitar, but for drums, like he got to actually, like most of the snare drums are the snare that was used on the Chroma record.
That's cool for sure.
Yeah. So we got to use that for a lot of stuff. And then because we have a couple really heavy songs, we used a SG and like a Les Paul, like just a standard, like 2019 standard, all stock, sounded great. And then that was it. We used we used a baritone, which was the first time I ever played one, and fuck baritones, dude. They are so I hate it because I have little hands. I can't stretch. So they're like, well, you're gonna have to go from here to here to here. And even Kevin was having difficulty. He's like, yeah, you got it. I'm like, if you couldn't do it, how the fuck am I gonna do it? Because I'm one of the worst studio musicians you'll ever meet.
Aw. Yeah,
Well,
no,
because live, I've always learned just to kind of play, like, just, kind of not hit
be
all
in
the
the
strings,
pocket.
but
Yeah.
yeah, just be in the pocket and just kind of make a lot of noise. So when it comes to the intricacies of like, yo, you're playing an octave chord, I really only need you to play those two notes. I was like, but live, I play all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are the ones that cut. And they're like, no, like you need to get better. So
No, but here, this is why.
yeah, so those were like the main things we used, and we used a variety of pedals, like a big sky, which was super cool to use. I've
No, they're
always
great.
wanted one. I've always wanted one.
They're mad expensive though for a
They
pedal.
are, yeah,
They're
like
like
400
400
bucks,
bucks.
500
Yeah.
bucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the coolest thing we did on the record musically, which I thought was awesome, was he had this Boss delay pedal, but had like the multiple like pedals to it or whatever. It wasn't just like the standard little guy.
Yeah.
Um, so we did a harmonic a thing for the song, and you hear it in our first song, Just Say It, and you hear it in the second song, Graveyard. You kind of have this like just elongated, like kind of pumping sounding harmonic. So what we did is we played it, and then he hit the delay pedal, so it just went on forever.
Mhm.
And then he plugged in a piano sustain pedal, and he just pumped it very like slowly, so it kind of gave the harmonic this wave. So Will really showed us how we can take things and use them in ways you never thought of before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like we had like this tape effect, but instead of just using a plugin, we like recorded the part and the vocal, and then we ran it through the old like Tascam 4-track recorder I used to buy as a kid,
Mhm.
and then reamped it back into the Pro
That's
Tools.
cool.
So it kind
Yeah.
of, and then we put a plugin on a little bit just to kind of make it a little bit more noticeable, but it gave like that old vinyl sound.
That's cool, man.
So that was kind of cool to be like, the guitars were awesome, but this was the first time we've actually got to sit down with like, here are like these multiple pedals, but that's just a delay pedal. It just makes you go boop boop boop. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this is how we can use it in a very different way that you never thought of. And that's kind of what I was going for earlier. It's like, get what you need and then really learn how to use it.
Yeah.
Because
No,
you
of
can
course.
probably do more with it you never even thought of.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that's cool. I had no
So,
idea you guys recorded with that Will. That was pretty cool.
mhm.
So let's see here. So bringing up the artisan. So I know this is I when I sent you these questions, I wrote axe to grind, which now is funny. Yes, that gorgeous thing. Because I didn't realize it's a pun. But I guess it is when I say axe to grind, because that's literally a guitar. I would never take that guitar out of the house. I have no idea how you have the balls to take that to shows. It would literally never leave my house, because that's like those guitars go for like $4 or $5 grand.
Yeah, the
But
Player Series. I mean, if you get these things in mint, they're like 8.
yeah, no, of course. So I would never ever leave the house. So like, do you take any like special precautions, I guess, with that thing? Because you're never gonna find, like, those are super hard to find, and it's very, they're very they're very unique. They're to find one.
Right. Well, for those who don't, for those who haven't seen it, I'll just do like a quick little pan. So you got so here, Kev might hate me for this, but I kept the old pickup. So we play such high gain amps, like with the orange, that when I had the original pickup in there, it squealed like a motherfucker, no matter how far the amp was, no matter how many noise gate pedals I had.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're not. They're probably not dipped, or they're probably
they're
microphonic.
not,
Yeah, they're probably
they're
microphonic on purpose.
Yeah, they're not waxed, because I guess
Yeah.
back then they didn't have to, because the amps were not as high gain in the
Correct.
70s. So to get the heavier tone, they didn't, like you said, dip them or wax them. So, it would really distort the sound. And that's how Led Zeppelin, all those bands could get such a gnarly tone from like a Fender combo, basically.
Yeah, correct.
But now I've got the TH30, where you put the gain at 12, you could basically almost rip off hardcore.
Yeah.
That thing's going to squeal. So what I did was, the bridge was collapsed. So I took that out, but I still can't. I still fucking have it. So I had to replace the bridge, just got like a standard Nashville. And then I put the JB in there, but these are stock.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And this little switch, it's missing the top, so you won't really hit it, which is nice.
Oh, that happened. That happened to one of my Les Pauls. I replaced it.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's nice for not, because I'm an SG person, so my toggle switch is always far away. But when I play Les Pauls, you do tend to just hit that into the neck pickup and it sounds like
all the time,
trash for
all the time.
yeah, yep.
But what's really funny is so when it's on the bottom position, it's just the bridge pickup. But when it's in the middle, it's bridge and neck, and then when it's in like the top, it's neck and middle. So none
Yeah.
of the top two are like isolated. I think they're really cool inlays. You can see some of them are missing because Kevin fucking toured the world with this thing.
Yeah.
You got like the bell rash on the back. So I think that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I'm so much more comfortable taking it
Yeah,
out.
that makes a lot more sense because Kevin kind of preconditioned that to get yeah.
He broke
So,
it in for me. He broke it
yes,
in.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's not like you bought that
Um,
on like you know bought that in mint condition. It's in player's condition right now.
Yeah, and honestly, even if I did buy it in mint condition, I would have brought it out anyway because I buy guitars to play. You know,
Sure.
I'm not a collector. I don't like collecting things. I'm a minimalist by nature. Hence why like I'll get rid of 2 guitars to buy one before
Sure.
just keeping them.
No, yeah.
But yeah, because it's already broken in, you don't really, you do care, obviously. I'm not like whipping this thing. Plus, it's like 14 pounds, not going anywhere anyway. I'm 5'4",
Yeah.
and that thing is over half my size. Like
Yeah.
I still look like I'm in high school anytime I play any guitar. So like
Yeah.
that's not good. But
Yeah,
I mean, I've got the really high end, like TSA approved like hard case.
Yeah.
It sits in there tightly and.
That makes a lot more sense because you don't because I only will see like a picture like the video you guys put out of you playing it and it's like you don't notice once you get a little bit closer to it or hold it you're like oh like this makes more sense, this has already been this tried and true abused, like it makes more sense to keep it
Yep. Yeah, so it's so I use that and it's been awesome. And like what I've like noticed, even the frets are kind of like flattened obviously from over the years of like pressing on them and just playing, so it plays really fast and really smooth compared to like the 2020. So I even noticed that like just the way it feels, like the weight, how the frets go, like how everything kind of is, it just feels better to play than any guitar I've ever had. And it was a 77, so what, almost 50 years at this point.
Yeah, that's
I'll be 40. It's like 43 years old, I guess now.
that's wild. Yeah, that's a keeper for sure. I mean, even with the shit kicked out of it, that's still going to be a gorgeous guitar down the road. So
and Kevin hooked it up. Like he wanted to get rid of it because he wanted to kind of do some different things with the money and things. So and I wanted like an actual like vintage guitar because like we were talking, like I want to start upgrading the gear. So having like, don't cheap out and get the $600 guitar because it's affordable. Like, how do I get the $3,000 guitar that just plays better, sounds better, feels better?
Has some historic value to it, which is also cool.
Yeah.
Like not a lot of people can say like I have this guitar because that's a hard guitar to find.
Right. And he hooked it up, man. Like he worked it out where I could pay him a little bit of money and every paycheck. Like he didn't like beat me over the bush to like, have like all the money up front. He really helped me out and let me take it home from Nashville like that, when we got done. And yeah, I'm bummed I only got to play one fucking show with it.
Yeah. Well, soon we'll be back. Eventually,
Yeah,
maybe.
we will. So, but yeah, it's a great guitar. It feels great. It plays awesome. I still have the original pickup, of course, and my whole the guy I kind of get all my work done in Delaware. We've already talked that every time we go to the studio for like tracking, we'll just swap out the pickups and the bridge so we can still get the actual artisan sound from the settings. So you can control it better in the studio setting.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We'll swap them out.
No, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the biggest thing that the biggest takeaway is if you always have a piece of, gear like that, you can switch everything out. It's, that's what's cool about guitars. Everything is almost replaceable. Like that's why I have so many at this point, because I learned how to fix all of them. Like anything on a guitar is fairly fixable, right? So you can, change out the pots, the pickups, the electronics, the hardware, all of that stuff. And that's why I kind of started buying more, is because it was like, oh, I can try this different. I could switch the bridge out to be, this versus this, or, so when it comes to having an old piece of gear like that, it's best you can switch stuff out to make it sound and play how you want it, but just keep the old stuff. And then when you go to sell it, you have the original, because some people are pretty sticklers about just making sure that it's the stock it was back in the 70s. So
yeah, I was thinking at some point maybe I would I would frame like the original parts as like shit falls off. I would just like put in like a picture frame.
Yeah.
um,
That's cool.
but yeah, and what was I gonna say? You said something that kind of like triggered a thought about like switching out shit.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Um,
guitars are all fixed. Like you can pretty much fix anything on your
yeah.
guitar, so everything is switchable. You can change out almost anything on a guitar.
Yeah, you really can, and like you can really just make it. There was another thought I had that I lost, so I thought that would trigger it, but it didn't. But you're right, like you can just replace anything and make it your own, and that's what's cool. And then you can get like the player's condition, like Les Paul Studio, like custom, and get that for like $2,000, $2,500 because it's beat to shit, and you just make it your project, and then it's like more sentimental.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. So all right, that's awesome, man. I'm glad we summed that up because I was about to just drive to your house and beat you over the head with it because I was like, that's a fucking that's a museum piece. But yeah, if it's already got some wear on it, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last segment here that I try to do is I've been doing for all of them is I refer to it as use, abuse, or trash. So essentially, it's just giving you 3 types of gear or pieces of gear where the options are use it, which means like no matter what, how much you play it, it'll always be in perfect condition. It'll always sound the same, and it'll always be mint.
Okay.
Abuse means this piece, you get to play it and keep it, but it'll get the shit kicked out of it. Like it's gonna break eventually. So you it's a player's item. And then trash means you have to throw it out. You can never use it ever again.
Okay. Cool.
So kind of easy. We'll do a little bit broad, and then we'll do, like kind of more detailed on what I know gear wise that you use. So first would be pretty simple. Gibson, Fender, or Ibanez.
Gibson, Fender, Ibanez.
Yep, in general.
Yeah, well, because of my history with all 3 of these companies, Ibanez trash. Sorry, fuck Ibanez. Fender would be my abuse because I actually do use my Squire Fender for the abuse guitar, like in a house show in like Delco area where I live.
Yeah.
And then use would be Gibson, straight up. I used to be a Fender guy. So I had to write this down because I have a horrible brain.
Horrible brain.
I literally had to write but yeah, I used to be a Fender guy, but I'm only gonna play Fender. And then the second I actually like really picked up a Les Paul, I was like,
shit. Yeah.
I'm a Gibson guy.
Yeah.
Good thing Ryan's a Fender guy, so we can each have our own endorsements sometime.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm definitely a Gibson guy. I love Fenders. I have nothing against them. It's just something about it.
Yeah, after playing like Will 73, I already said like at some point in my life I want to get a 73 Tele Deluxe, with the wide range, and I still want my Strat back whenever I can afford to kind of buy it for my buddy again. And I would love to get a Tele just to have, especially if like, as we like, if my wife and I moved to like a bigger house and maybe I can build like a little studio, I would love to have like one of like Fender's main types of guitars type deal.
Yeah.
But like if I'm thinking about just going on tour and like playing shows, use Gibson, abuse Fender, burn Ibanez.
Yeah,
Sorry if I pissed anyone off.
No, Steve, you got Steve Vai's Ibanez, but well, all right, so kind of off that one.
It's got a handle. Who wants?
You gotta shake it. Yeah, I never understood that, but those sticks go for big money too.
They do.
Yeah, people love them. So another fairly easy one off of that one. So out of Gibson, you got Les Paul, SG, and I have no idea if you played this guitar, but there's really not many other options beyond that, but a Flying V. So
Flying V.
Yeah, SG, Les Paul, Flying V. Use, abuse, trash.
You kind of gave it to me in the order already, so I would definitely use a Les Paul, just because like the way it fits. You know what I mean? Like when I'm playing it. Definitely use the Les Paul. I love SGs for studio, and because like they're so light, but like I never vibe with them playing live because so they would definitely be like an abuse guitar. Like, okay, I have to play this. It's gonna be like I'm gonna pull some Story of the Year shit and like win the crap out of it.
Yeah.
Which by the way, shout out to ESP because one of my first ever big shows, I tried to windmill my ESP EC1000, and the first time I made it, The second time it did not, and I did the classic fling it, and it goes way over that way on stage in front of like 300 people, and just smashes, and you just hear, "Bah!" while we're playing like a song, obviously like one of our songs, and I'm just like looking at it, like it could have been on one of those YouTube videos, like guitar windmill fails.
Yeah.
But shout out to them because that shit didn't even chip. And that
Yeah,
landed on the headstock.
Jesus, yeah, your Gibson would be
Yeah.
toast.
Yeah. Kevin
Yeah.
would kill me.
Yeah, he
But
would absolutely fucking murder you.
I've played Flying V's, not live, but just like in general. And oh, you know what? No. So this is why I hate Flying V's. So during recording a Bad Times Don't Last with Rick and Kevin in Kentucky, Rick had this Epiphone Flying V that we used for some leads, and it had one that rubber grip thing on the one leg of it. So you like when you put the V in between like your leg, there's like this rubber grip that like sat on like your left hand thigh,
on like one of the
left...
horns.
Yeah, and I hated every second of playing that guitar. It was weird. I felt like I just had like I felt like I was playing with myself the entire time because the way it's set. I was like, I hate this. Can we use any of that? And Rick's like, nope, it's the best. And it really did have the best tone for the part we were doing. But that was probably the most I've ever complained in the studio, and I'm pretty sure Kevin was about to punch me in the face.
So that's interesting. I had no idea. That's pretty cool. It's funny. So there's the Gibson one. So now we'll move on to Fender. You got your Strat, your Tele, and your Jag.
Ooh, that's actually a good one. We're talking Tele like single coil or Tele Deluxe?
Whatever. I mean, technically 72 Deluxe Telecasters are single coil. They're just wide range, but whatever you would prefer the most. So
okay, so I would definitely do like a Tele Deluxe.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, damn, but the Jags are so fucking nice.
They're so cool.
I know, dude. This is hard. And because if I'm like customizing it the way I would, I put the hot rail on the Strat and the Jags with the P90s. All right, Tele Deluxe for use, especially if I could get my hands on like a 73 or something like that. 72, like 73.
A minty one.
Yeah. And then I would have used a Jaguar. Like the only reason I got rid of the one I had, it wasn't even a Jag. It was a Jazzmaster. The scale length was too short, and like so it just wasn't staying in tune. It didn't feel right. But I would probably abuse a Jag. I've kind of always been eyeing them up for the last couple months about would this be a fun guitar to have, So and with heavy tears, I would trash the Strat.
Yeah.
But I just think because like what I like to play, like having like the wide range pickups or having the P90s would just be better for the tone, even with a hot rail. So, but I would cry. I would cry as it was being trashed. I would place in the trash delicately, like, and then call you to like do a drive by and pick it up.
I'd pick it up. I'll play it upside. I'll Jimi Hendrix it.
There you go.
As the resident lefty. Yeah. So
wait. So what side of the stage do you play on then?
I play stage right. I'm on my headstock out because
right.
I've played the experience where I've never done it, but almost smashed my headstock on the bass player. So especially, I don't know if you've ever seen. I think we've played shows together, but Josh is an insanely active bass player, and he is literally sprinting across the stage at any given time. So I'm trying to stay away from him so I don't break my, one of my Gibsons or something. But yeah, I stay off stage.
I've always loved like this here. Like if you have like a lefty and a righty, like I've never actually seen a band with a lefty and a righty have it where they're facing in. So like, would that look weird? Because I'm so used to them playing out.
Yeah. No, it's terrifying if they're in because you're gonna hit. It's almost inevitable. If you don't think it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. That's the second it happens.
Yeah, right. Oh no,
I actually have.
You're like the second. It's like, nah. All right, we're good. We got enough space. Clonk.
Because I at practice I have an older one of my first Gibson SGs. It has if you look on the headstock, there's a mark from a bass where they hit, but it was lightly. It wasn't terrible. It was one of those like, like, oh my God, how bad was it? And it just left a little indent in the headstock, but it didn't break it, thank God. But
right, seriously.
Yeah, it's terrifying. So
Mm,
last one would be amps. So I know
okay.
you have an orange, so you've had two. So
Mm,
you got a TH30,
yep.
you got a rock reverb,
Okay.
and I would say a CR120, but it's not. Um, so you can enter. It's up to you. You want to use a CR120 or do you want to use a dual dark, which is like let's use a dual dark. Have you ever seen those amps?
Yeah, I played them.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
Yeah, they're just like way too like heavy for that little fucking
They
thing.
are dark.
Yeah,
That
they are.
is, yeah.
It's like you sit there like, oh, it's like this like little lunchbox, and
No,
then it's just,
no, I'm talking dual. You're thinking Dark Terror. I'm talking dual
oh,
dark, which is like the big motherfucker.
oh, that one. Okay, I haven't played that, but I've
Yeah,
heard it at least.
yeah.
Okay.
The Dark Terrors are awesome. The little 15, the lunchbox one. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, let's do that. Let's take. I'm gonna do it this way because the rocker verb is up there. It's obviously far more expensive. So let's take that out. So scratch. You have your pen and paper. I knew you were.
I do.
Scratch it out. So we'll leave the TH30.
Yes.
We'll do a tiny terror.
Okay.
So that's a little bit lighter. And
Yeah.
then we'll do the CR120.
The CR120. Ooh. Okay.
That's a little bit more, I guess, in
Right.
the realm of each other.
Right. Right. See that actually made it a lot fucking harder. So fuck you, dude.
Just
um.
play it as it lies.
Well, because here's the thing, like, right, with the CR120 having more controls, I'm imagining like, okay, even though I like less knobs, I value the idea of having more of them if we're on like a bigger stage, on like a bigger tour,
Mhm.
having more control of your tone. But it's still a solid state, whereas my TH30 is a tube and roars. The tiny, but then the tiny would be a perfect little fucking thing to have in the house
That
as a
also
bass.
has three knobs. That
It
has
does.
tone, gain, and volume.
Right, and that'd be like great to play in a basement because like, what the fuck is that little tiny thing on a giant fucking cab, and then it just blows everyone out of the water.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. All right. Well, okay. I'm gonna go with TH30Us because I've been doing that, and the thing that I've always really enjoyed getting the compliments on is when I come off stage and people are like, because I've had 3 amps throughout Goalkeeper. I had the CR120 when we first started, then the TH30. Never got rid of the TH30, but tried to use a triple rec for a couple
I remember
months.
when you bought that. Yeah, I was like, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to pull out. That there's more tubes in that amp than most people will ever want to see in their lifetime.
My God, well, I bought it from Rick because I was like, you know what? I really love the triple rec. I've been seeing a lot of bands play it, like
Yeah.
sleep on it. And our
Oh
buddy's
yeah,
an Eternal Boy.
that's the old school pop punk yellow card. They use
Yeah,
triple recs. Yep.
Blink used it for a while, but I hated it when I started to really get into it. I was just like, this is not
It's
like
its
that.
it's its own amp. There's no amp that
Yeah,
sounds like a triple rec.
it doesn't. There is none, and like it didn't make any records. And the only cool thing about it didn't have the chrome plate; it had the black, which was really cool, like aesthetically more pleasing. Um, but like I did appreciate the 3 channels, right? I did appreciate
Mm-hmm.
having like a light gain, a full gain, like a clean. But I was just like, this isn't. This is going back to our conversation in the beginning. Like, it's not for Goalkeeper. It's too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So I got rid of that to actually pay for some of the artisan. Yeah, okay. So I'll put the TH30 as used because I've been doing that, and my favorite thing is when I get off stage and people are like, "Yo, the set was incredible, but your fucking guitar tone, like, what are you using? Like, how
Yeah.
many pedals?" And I literally, for those who don't know, I know we didn't talk about it, but I use Polytune into the Digitech drop tune because we do a couple songs in drop C for Ryan's voice, but we don't want to have like 4 guitars, like 2 in
Yeah.
drop C and shit. So we just use that, and going from C sharp to C, you don't really hear it
Yeah.
with the lag or anything. If Ryan hits his bass really, really hard, you can kind of hear it wiggle out of tune, but that's also technique. So get better at technique, Ryan.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Nah, I fuck with him all the time. But then that goes into a tube screamer, which I only use when we need to have a dirty clean. Like I don't use that to boost my dirty channel at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then that goes into a noise suppressor. I mean, the first pedal technically is like the G30, like wireless, but if I'm talking like just the pedal chain, like that's all I use.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
Technically, like Chad from Newfound Glory says, all I need is on, off, clean, and distortion. I'm good.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll use the TH30. I will. Fuck it, I'll abuse the Tiny Terror.
Hell
and
yeah.
I'll trash the CR120. But again, that would be like placing it delicately in like the trash can and leaving a sign that says "really good amp for free, sitting in here to come take."
Yeah, I'll swipe. I'll swing by.
Yeah,
All
right.
right, yeah, no, that's a good one. I can appreciate that. Abusing a Tiny Terror would be fun because those things are in a little steel cage, so you can just they're pretty invincible. Yeah, that's
It's a
it, man. I
what do, Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I appreciate you having on. I mean, I think a lot of what we do is kind of similar. Like I just like I had the TH30 for I didn't have it that long because I ended up trading it like we all do, trading for my Splawn, which I still have. But
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I mean it's a they're you with your guys' sound, what you do is perfect for what you need because you're
Mm-hmm.
not overcomplicating it. Like, the more you know, the more, and like I'm even guilty of it, the more you tend to overcomplicate things, which, it's, you get a guitar into two pedals, into a good amp, and that's
Yep.
sometimes just more than enough.
Yeah.
So that's what I can appreciate out of everything that you guys have. But it's good to sit down, talk with friends, especially when you're all the way in Philadelphia and I haven't seen
I
it.
know.
We were supposed to be playing shows a couple of weeks
We,
ago.
I
We had
know.
a weekender, and
We
that didn't happen.
had the weekend or Luke Fest. Hope he's doing well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
Uh, yeah, because he was flying in from Europe or UK, and we were gonna host a little a concert for him with us, Midfield, Merritt, you guys.
yeah.
That was
What a,
supposed to be that was gonna be a lot of fun,
that was gonna be a
but
blast, but COVID-19 is just like,
I
you know
know.
what? Fuck your whole year. So
Well, I will say this, dude. We have well over 125 shows planned for next year. You know, if we can like considering that we could start potentially touring by like January. Um, so we fully plan on hitting guys up to do like a 10-day run, like south or like northeast or something like that. Because we're doing fewer weekenders now. We're really doubling down on like 10 to 14-day runs,
yeah,
being from them. And for those who don't know, if you're listening to California or UK, like when you live in the mid-Atlantic region of the US, you don't have to go out for 30 days at a time. You can
nope,
do 10 days and literally hit an entire half of the coast.
yep. Mm-hmm.
So, and then starting to do like 20 plus days, going to like Texas and back. So, but we'll definitely, you guys are on the list, friend circle. Well, there's the top two right now. So like we
Yeah.
definitely want to like do some tours together.
I got some time off to blow next year, so
Hell
let's
yeah,
do it.
let's use it.
Let's
Let's
do it.
do it.
But last thing, obviously, so you guys have a lot of shit. You just put out a video, you're putting out a record. So
Mhm.
plug away for all the new Goalkeeper stuff.
Yeah, Stream Happy. It's out everywhere. And if you look on any of our social media links, you can see the pre-save for the new EP. So please go and pre-save the EP. I don't like the shameless stuff like this, but for those who don't know, just quickly hitting pre-save onto Apple Music or Spotify actually does help a band with like playlisting spots and just your stream numbers and stuff. So please, just if you have like literally 10 seconds just to hit pre-save, do it. And if you hate the record, just delete it.
No,
um,
keep it and listen to it on repeat.
yeah, there you go. They do that instead.
Yeah,
But then we have a new single. We have another single for the EP. Which is called Life in Slow Motion. It's coming out in August, and that song will be called. I don't know when this is coming out, but fuck it, it's called Just Say It. And then we're gonna do a third video and have the EP come out September 25th. And so we are incredibly excited to finally get this music out. So, and
yeah,
it's been really, really nice to have Seb and Will and Kevin all promoting it on their ends too. Which for those who know is pretty uncommon to have the studio people sharing it around. So the
yeah.
fact that they're like using their platforms to help us is absolutely unreal. So
Adding the record to pre-save for Well, nope. That's not. I almost went to YouTube. That's like the inner boomer in me, I guess, wanted to
go to YouTube then too.
go.
Watch it a few times.
There you go. All right, so we're
But
in.
and then and then shout out to Jesse Joseph for doing all of the photo work for our stuff. He literally made our Spotify look a lot sexier. And shout out to Casey Allen, which you know, and our buddy Tim. He's Polish. I can't pronounce his last name. I'm gonna say Shezwick, but it's not that at all. They
Close
did
enough.
they did all of our video work. Baltimore, Maryland people. So shout out to them for making all of our content just look incredible as we're getting ready to release stuff. So kind of just had to shout them out.
Hell yeah, it's always worth it. Well, thank you so much, Mark.